This is a heartbreaking story about desperation, regret, and the painful consequences of decisions made without fully understanding their hidden cost. After completing her secondary school education, a young woman named Permena from a very poor family struggled with unemployment for many years. To survive, she took small, temporary jobs whenever opportunities appeared, but none of them offered stability. After a long and painful search for employment, Permena was finally hired by an Asian businessman in her local town. She felt as though her life was finally beginning to change. Among her daily duties, the most important one was sweeping the compound to keep it clean and tidy at all times. Another employee worked inside the house, handling indoor responsibilities. In the middle of the compound, directly facing the main entrance, stood a beautiful, flowering tree. The tree produced attractive flowers, but during its blooming season, it shed large numbers of petals every day. As a result, Permena had to sweep the compound repeatedly, making her work exhausting and frustrating. Over time, Permena became familiar with her employer's behavior and believed she could freely express her opinion. One day, after finishing another tiring round of sweeping, she gathered courage and said to her boss,
"Sir, this flower tree keeps shedding petals every day. Sweeping the compound has become very difficult. I think it would be better if the tree were removed."
Her employer remained silent for a short moment before calmly replying,
"All right, tomorrow I will call someone to cut it down."
Permena felt relieved. The following day, she arrived at work as usual and began sweeping the compound. A few hours later, a man carrying an axe arrived and cut down the flowering tree completely. Her employer instructed her to remove the cut branches and clean the compound. Permena worked happily the entire day, believing her difficult daily burden had finally ended. That evening, she returned home smiling, convinced that work would now become much easier. But the next morning, everything changed. When she arrived at work, her employer called her aside and said coldly,
"You are dismissed."
Permena stood speechless. Her employer continued,
"It was you who advised me to cut down the flower tree. Now that the tree is gone, the sweeping work is no longer necessary. Your job has ended. You may go and look for work elsewhere."
Those words shattered her completely. At that moment, Permena deeply regretted her own suggestion. She remembered how many years she had spent searching desperately for that job, only to lose it through her own request. Broken and hopeless, she whispered to herself,
"My own request has destroyed my life."
Back home, the situation became even more painful. Permena had been the only breadwinner for her struggling family. Without her income, the entire household sank back into extreme poverty and desperation. And from that painful experience came a lesson she would never forget. Think carefully before making decisions, because some actions can destroy the very opportunities we once prayed for.